Hey guys, it's Comic Central here, and today I'm going to be tackling the biggest topic I have so far on my channel. I'm going to be making my Phase 1 for the DCEU. The DCEU has had mixed responses, and many people want it to be fixed, rebooted, or just ended altogether. Me, I want it to be fixed, not rebooted, but if they do reboot it, this is how I would do it. I'm not saying the DCEU is completely bad, because it isn't. Warner Bros. Has a plan in mind, and they do it the way they see fit, and that's okay with me. This is how I would make the DC live action universe. I would do this for Marvel, but I'm very happy with how that's going. I would only change a few slight things that aren't game changing either. I think DC has the potential of doing something that either comic book movies can't do or don't do properly. And that potential interests me and attracts me into making this video. So with that said, let's get into it. The first movie Warner Bros. Should plan to invest in for Phase 1 should be a solo Batman movie. Now, I know people get bored easily if a whole universe is centered around Batman and his super friends, but hear me out. We need the Batman solo movie to come first because this will get people's opinion on what the universe could become and also to start building up the Batman lore. Batman has by far the most extensive lore of any DC character. Superman does come close, but Batman just beats him. With this movie, it will start out with the pre-credits theme that all this movie start with. While this is happening, it can quickly run through Batman's origin story, because I'm pretty sure Batman's backstory is like Spider-Man's now. Everyone knows it, and everyone's getting sick of getting full movies dedicated to it. This movie will be set in the very early days of Batman's career, say in the first 1 or 2 years of Batman's career, probably the second year though. The opening scene will have Batman fighting the Red Hood gang in Ace Chemicals. This scene will have very little to no impact on the rest of the film, but will show us the brutality of Batman's fighting style, and will also show a gang member that goes by the name Red Hood, whom is the supposed leader of the gang stumble into a vat of chemicals. And that's all there is to this scene. We don't go back to it at all throughout the movie, and let the internet take care of who the Red Hood gang member will become in the future. Another scene that is necessary for this movie, and builds the foundation for this movie, that of course will be the start, is a courtroom scene. This scene will have Harvey Dent trying to convict Carmine Falcone of money laundering and illegal money printing. The debate will go on and will end up with the goon of Falcone's rushing into the courtroom and throwing a Molotov into the courtroom. This allows Falcone to escape and also burns Harvey Dent. Explosives also get set off, which kills and maims countless amounts of innocents. Harvey protects part of his body from serious damage, but not all of which will turn him into the criminal known as Two-Face. As the movie progresses, we'll get Two-Face developing a gang and having a gang war with Falcone, so we'll have elements of a gangster movie in it. Batman will be in the middle trying to put both the sides behind bars and end the madness within Gotham City. At the end of the movie, get Two-Face and make him get apprehended by Batman, and the police find him and send him into an asylum. This asylum will be stated as a renovated and is reopened and will introduce Arkham Asylum into this universe. The police in this movie also hate Batman and try to take him in if they get a chance. By the end of the movie, when they capture Two-Face, a scarce few amount of police officers, including Officer Gordon, will look up to Batman throughout the film. Gordon at this moment is not the police commissioner. Falcone will go into hiding and lay low and get away, but not after Batman nearly destroyed his entire operation and company. Also, something I forgot to mention, somewhere in the middle, Bruce will be doing detective work in the Batcave with Alfred, and a news report on the radio will talk of a Superman in Metropolis. This will only be a side note and an Easter egg, which is the only world building for the DCEU, well, for the entire DCEU as a whole, I'm meaning here. This movie is mostly set on implementing Batman and starting to build the character's history up. This will be an emotional ride for Batman, as Harvey was his ex-friend and now he wants to help to rehabilitate him. This should be made clear that Batman only wants to help Harvey Dent, or Two-Face, and no other criminal in Arkham or the entire world for that fact. The after-credit scene for this should be Bruce Wayne talking to someone on the phone, then hanging up and pressing a button on his computer. His computer will flash up saying, "Project Metallo funded." This will be a dark, gritty noir film as well. This movie should be at least aiming for an MA 15+ rating. The second movie should be the Superman movie. Because Superman was referenced in the Batman movie, we don't need to do his full origin story, because people know his origin probably better than Batman's, because it has been on screen and TV probably more than Batman's has. Instead, we put it like the Batman movie, and have it set in the early days of Superman's career. But instead, we have it set in the early few weeks or months of his career, making him even more of a newbie than what Batman is. We have Superman only having a t-shirt and pants and a cape, which landed with him in the spaceship. Clark Kent lives in Metropolis and he works at the Daily Star, and not at the Daily Planet yet. Superman at this stage is a weaker version of himself and doesn't yet have the knowledge to make himself fly. The police consider him to be a threat at first, but as the movie continues, the police grow to like and support him. The villain of this movie will be Lex Luthor, who sees Superman as a threat, so he builds a suit of armor that a soldier named John Corbin tests. Lex Luthor will get funding from multiple businesses, but we only hear this on a news report and written on a piece of paper in Lex's lab. The top founder of this will be Wayne Enterprises, which will be incorporated as an Easter egg just to sort of let people know that the Batman solo movie and this movie are in the same universe, and just to give them a taste of what the universe that Warner Bros. Will be building. The AI in the machine starts to malfunction and the robot goes crazy and escapes. The robot will be referenced and called by Lex Luthor as Project Metallo, or Metallo for short. Superman and Metallo engage in a brawl in which Superman knocks Metallo unconscious and returns him to Lex Luthor. Distressed about the collateral damage that he caused, he returns home to speak to Martha Kent. It should be noted that his adoptive father should have died in a car crash during this time, and he should not be alive. This is just going to add a little bit more of depth to the character. Martha Kent I'm talking about, I should note as well, not Martha Wayne. Martha tells him about that he's not actually from this planet, although Kent has also, when I say Kent, I mean Clark Kent. Clark has always suspected that he hasn't been human, that he hasn't been from there. Martha explains some of his origins and tries to best explain it to him that he was an orphan and they found him crash-landed in a space pod. He then tries to go and find out who he really is after Martha explains a little bit more to him. His travels take him to Antarctica. He finds a Kryptonian spaceship that is now encased in ice to create an ice structure of sorts. Clark enters the ice building and discovers who he truly is. We have a brief explanation of his origins from a projection of Jor-El, and Superman dons the costume that he finds within this Fortress of Solitude. Jor-El then gives him knowledge needed for him to learn to fly. He explains it through the weaker gravity field of Earth and gives him the tools that he needs to be able to make him learn to fly. Superman practices this newfound ability until he has nearly mastered it. Thinking that he has truly mastered it, he then returns to Metropolis to confront Lex Luthor. During the confrontation with Lex unleashes an upgraded Metallo, claiming he has full control over his weapon. Metallo and Superman engage in a fight while Lex retreats to a safe area where he can monitor the fight and commentate via speaker. Here he explains to Superman that he has found a radioactive material from outer space and incorporated it into Metallo's design. And he claims that he's the smartest man alive, so this should hurt Superman. As this happens, Metallo's chestal region opens and exposes Superman for the first time to kryptonite. The reason for Superman not reacting to this beforehand is because of the lead casing that Metallo is made out of. Superman becomes weakened and the fight suddenly doesn't become a fair one, and Metallo beats Superman to an inch of his life. Superman remembers his adoptive father's and his real father's advice, and it gives him the mental strength he needs to fight back. This may be a bit cliched, but we have seen it in many movies, more recently in Black Panther. He slowly pushed Metallo away and pushes him off again. With Metallo away from him, Superman is able to defeat him by breaking Lex's machinery that controls him. He can do this either with his heat vision, or his super strength. This event sets off a small EMP that renders Metallo unconscious and defeated. This should be a failsafe built into the machine that is used to control Metallo. Superman then breaks into the room where Lex is monitoring the fight and brings him to justice. Superman leaves him at the police station, then flies off. There's going to be two after-credit scenes for this. The first one being Clark going to the Daily Planet and then going for a job, and then he gets the job and then he smiles, and a bit of a cliched one, but anyway. The next after-credit scene should be inside a spaceship in outer space. A chair is facing away from the camera and a voice says, what an interesting planet after all. Then that's it. Let the internet speculate who this is. And if you're wondering who this is, well, it's Brainiac, and that's this whole Phase 1 will work towards. The rating of this movie needs to be PG or M, and needs to be a light-hearted and fun like Marvel movies to show the audience that this cinematic universe has something for all ages and demographics. The third movie to come out should be the Wonder Woman movie. Some of the criticism of the Wonder Woman movie was about how it had little connection to the rest of the DCEU, so to combat that, we are setting it in modern day. And I will take elements from that movie though, that people enjoy it. It will start to be recounting Wonder Woman's origin. She's moulded from clay by Hippolyta, and she begs Zeus to bring her to life. Zeus grants her wish and Wonder Woman is born. This is important that we set up the fact that Greek gods are within the universe. That means we have a staple point for Shazam to bring him in later down the line. I don't mean born literally, well I sort of do, but not a natural birth, if you know what I mean. After that, she trains amongst the Amazons despite Hippolyta's concerns and objections. She becomes the best warrior among the Amazons, and by the time she becomes an adult. When Wonder Woman is an adult, she sees that she thinks it is a meteor flying down into the water outside the Themyscira's land. She goes down to investigate and finds a sinking fighter plane. Steve Trevor swims onto the land a little bit away from Wonder Woman. He gets up and asks her where he is, and Wonder Woman, confused, knocks him to his feet and holds a sword to his throat. She realizes that he's a man and questions him and is no longer hostile but curious. She asks him lots of questions before Hippolyta interrupts and captures and interrogates Steve Trevor with a lasso of truth. Here we learn that Steve is on a secret mission that has led him all over the world before he finally got a lead and is heading to Africa to track and capture a deadly assassin that has been accountable for multiple murders of government officials all over the world. The Amazons let Steve go and send him back on his way in a boat. While he is about to leave, Wonder Woman collects artifacts from the secret island to aid her in her journey and goes along with Steve. She is warned by Hippolyta that she may never return to Themyscira if she leaves, but she decides to go anyway, in order to stop this barbaric person from killing innocent people. While Steve and Wonder Woman are sailing, Wonder Woman answers Steve's questions about Themyscira. This sequence is needed to explain, mostly to us, about the island and its inhabitants in a bit more in-depth way. Days pass and the duo arrive in an undisclosed location in South America. Here the two are greeted by a warlord who takes them into a rundown hotel room to rest. Steve can introduce Wonder Woman like he did in the actual movie as Diana Prince. Wonder Woman questions the warlord when her and Steve are alone. Steve dismisses her and doesn't really want to question it because he just wants to get the job done. They go to bed after they have an argument. The next few days, which can take place over a few scenes, will have the warlord guiding them through the jungle. One of the days, they will find a thought to be a lost American senator in the forest. He has been disemboweled and he looks to have been attacked by some sort of animal. This is important that it makes this clear because it will show the animalistic tendencies of the villain. Wonder Woman gets more and more agitated at the warlord at his sexist behaviours towards her and the other villagers. Anyway, that night when Wonder Woman and Steve are asleep, Wonder Woman gets awoken by the sound of a woman screaming and crying. She decides to leave the room and investigate. What she finds is the warlord assaulting and raping one of the female villagers. Wonder Woman picks up the warlord and carries him off into the village. She puts him in what looks like a stock from medieval times and returns the woman. The villager thanks her and says she is very grateful for her and the other women in the village, and gives her the name Wonder Woman. She also states that now the warlord has been defeated, the males of the village are now no longer have to be forced into the warlord's militia and be beaten if they step out of line. The next day, Steve and Wonder Woman find the warlord is not in the stocks and is completely missing. The villagers do not know where he has went, but they are more concerned with thanking Wonder Woman for ridding all of their lives of evil. Steve and Wonder Woman search their jungle alone, but not after Steve is hesitant at the idea as they no longer have a guide. They search the jungle for a while and stumble upon an ancient temple. They enter the temple and look around. Something is stalking them from the shadows, so Steve draws a pistol and becomes conscious of their actions. They find the warlord's body in a back room of the temple and Steve walks over to investigate, and Wonder Woman stays at the door, guarding the entrance in case something comes in. A wall comes up, separating the two from each other. Wonder Woman tries to get through, but can't. The wall doesn't seem to break at all, no matter if she has superhuman strength. Steve yells, and the sound of his body hits the floor. Wonder Woman is distressed and punches through the wall, finally gaining the strength to do it. Cheetah is standing over Steve's body, about to kill him. Blood is gushing from wounds on Steve's stomach area. Wonder Woman and Cheetah engage in a fight that ends with Wonder Woman severely wounding Cheetah. Cheetah falls unconscious and Wonder Woman takes Steve back to the village. In her distress, she accidentally hovers in the air and flies back to the village. Because of intense race of emotion, she's able to do this. The villagers gather medical supplies for Steve and nurse him back to health, using all of the medical supplies that they have. A giant, massive, big sort of generosity theme for them because they don't really have much as well. After days of recovery, a plane lands in the village and an African-American lady steps out and takes Steve with her. Steve offers Wonder Woman to get on board, but she declines and says she still has work to do here and will get back her own way. It is important that the lady comes out of the plane and does not be name dropped, because that will ruin important parts of the future of the DCEU. In case you're wondering though, it's Amanda Waller. Wonder Woman goes back into the hotel and sees Steve left a multi-$1,000 check with a note that says, "For the village." Wonder Woman smiles, then it ends. This is just to say that Steve is a hero in this movie just as much as Wonder Woman is. This movie should aim for MA15+ if possible, but M would be okay as well. Because this has some gory scenes, I doubt it would get an M rating though. For the after credit scene, it should be Wonder Woman going through an American customs where a bomb threat goes off. She runs to the threat and opens up her shirt, which reveals the Wonder Woman outfit. Similar to how Superman does, then it actually ends. For the fourth movie, we need to have the Green Lantern movie. This is the most important movie of all so far, as this is going to do the most world building out of any of the movies. The others have just been loosely connected or barely at all, just so we don't just sort of rush into building the universe all at once. This movie is going to build up the whole space and cosmic side of the universe. This movie should start off telling the origin story of Hal Jordan. It's important that it is Hal Jordan in this universe at the start, as well as it makes room for other further story arcs for the character and the Green Lantern Corps as a whole. So anyway, this movie tells the origin story of Hal Jordan. Have Hal Jordan be a really great Air Force pilot, and implement the relationship between him and Carol Ferris. This is important as it will lead to him into the future of this universe. Have him get off work one day, on his way home, he spots what he thinks is a meteor crash on the beach. He drives off course to investigate and finds Abin Sur dying in an escape pod. Abin Sur gives him the ring and the lantern, and Hal escapes before the police and the FBI and everything get there. Abin Sur does this because he sees what Hal has the willpower to resist fear. At home, Hal tampers with the ring and the lantern before he gets teleported to Oa. Here he learns of the Green Lanterns and gets assigned a mentor named Sinestro. Sinestro trains Hal, but midway through his training, he gets banished as he's showing Hal wrong things and using his ring incorrectly. With Sinestro gone, Kilowog takes over as his mentor. We move away from Hal's training for a time and move to watch Sinestro's banishment. If you're wondering what Sinestro did to get banished, he was being a bit cruel and unforgiving to people. He was also ruling his sector as a dictatorship, and he wanted Hal to do the same thing, which is not what the Green Lantern's Corps wants to do. Anyway, Sinestro gets banished to the antimatter universe of Quad for his crimes. There, the Quadians tap the power of the universal fear entity to create their own power rings imbued with yellow energy, the only vulnerability of the Green Lantern's rings. Sinestro quickly turns on them, well, not completely, but he sort of turns the Quad into a dictatorship as well and becomes the ruler of that planet, even going as far to push even the people that gave him the fear ring into cruel and unthings way that he doesn't. Unexactly very kind, I guess would be the best way to say it. Anyway, near the end of Hal's training, Sinestro returns to the Guardians and attempts to kill them, claiming they have gone blind and do not know the true ways of protecting people anymore. He says that they need to move on from the old traditions. Kilowog interferes and battles his old friend in a battle of will versus fear. Sinestro does this with relative ease, but still has a little bit of difficulty because it's Kilowog. Hal interferes because his master got defeated, and they battle, and Hal drives Sinestro off using the power of will, unlike anything the Guardians have ever seen before. The Guardians award Hal with the gift of completing training. He is sent back to Earth for a short time to touch base with his loved ones before he starts his patrol of his sector. Here he returns to Carol, and they celebrate his return. Hal claims he's been testing new flight gear for the past few weeks to cover where he was. While Hal and Carol are asleep, Sinestro arrives at their apartment and attacks Hal. This event exposes Carol to the Lantern Corps. Hal and Sinestro engage in a fight in which Sinestro inflicts his power of fear onto the entire apartment Hal is in, including Carol Ferris, and she crawls up in a ball and sort of cries because of the immense fear that she's feeling. The residents of the apartment attack Hal, thinking he is their greatest fear. A few residents, such as Carol, shudder in corners afraid of him, but most attack him. Hal gets overthrown by the residents and he doesn't want to hurt the innocent, so he creates a bubble of willpower and protects himself from the attacks. Hal says the Green Lantern Oath, which is, in brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight, let those who worship evil's might beware my power, Green Lantern's light. And no, that's not in the script if you're wondering. And unleashes a massive flash of green, which goes into outer space. This battle is seemingly even until Hal unleashes a massive blast of will attacks onto Sinestro while they're in outer space, which hurts the villain a lot, forcing him to retreat back to his own planet. Hal's ring beeps and his ring loses energy and he starts to suffocate in space. Kilowog grabs him in the nick of time and takes him back to Oa. After Hal recovers, the Guardians congratulate him and award him place as the member of one of the best Green Lanterns in the galaxy, the highest rank of the Green Lanterns. Just to note, the leader of the Lanterns does not mean he is above the Guardians, but just a tier below them. Hal declines and decides he can do more by sticking up for the little guy. Hal returns to his sector and continues to protect it. Now, that would be the end, but for the after credit scene, it should show Sinestro back on his planet in like a sort of cave sort of thing. The cave has rivers of yellow energy of fear flowing out of it and across the planet's surface. Inside, Sinestro is raising fear rings out of a pool of the yellow energy, and also fear lanterns. He says the fear oath to them, and with that they fly out into outer space, and that's it, the whole movie. This movie should aim for an M rating. I would say an MA rating for the whole fear stuff, but the markability of this movie, if it has a lower rating, is simply better, and it doesn't need an MA rating unlike the other movies on this list that I've talked about, and a PG rating is too low for it. That brings us to the end of part 1 of phase 1 of how I would structure the DCEU. Hope you guys did like this video. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next video. Bye.